Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. I wish you all a very happy new year. If your goal in this new year is to learn belly dance but you have no clue where to start from, then this series of videos will be perfect for you. In this series we'll have 6 videos. In the first 3 we're gonna be learning some of the basic movements of the hips, like hip lift, hip slide and hip tuck. And in the second half of the series, we're going to be learning the compound movements, which are movements that consist of the basics that we learned in the first 3 videos. The movements will be inner hip circle, outer hip circle, and figure 8 of the hips vertically up and down. So if you're ready, let's start with today's movement. So let's start with the basic posture. The posture will make sure that we are protecting our lower back and using our body to the best of its abilities to have a big and very visible movement. So the first thing we need to pay attention to is our feet. Especially if you're a beginner, make sure that your feet are flat all the time and you're not using your heel to cheat the movement. Lifting the heel will have a very rocky movement in the body and we want it to be stable and isolated. So we want the heel to be flat in the beginner stage. Then we're going to pay attention to the knees. We don't want them to be locked and tense. We want them to be softly bent. So I don't want to squat down, but in the same time, I don't want to tense them back. So I'm just gonna bend them slightly. I barely shortened my height, just a little bit. Sometimes it's not even noticeable. So this will give me some range of motion to actually move my knees in a soft way. So they're never locking back like this. They're actually always bent. They always have a bend in them, but I'm just increasing the bend and decreasing the bend, that's all. The second thing, or the third thing, is my pelvis. I need to make sure that it's not drooping forward like this and my butt is not sticking out. I want to reduce this arch in the lower back. So what do? I use my abdominals or my ab muscles to squeeze and tuck it in. I tucked my pelvis in, I put it under my chest, and my lower back now barely has an arch. So this is wrong, this is right. Wrong, right. So that doesn't mean that we will never do this. This can be a movement, right? But we will always stay in this posture just to have less pressure on the lower back. For the chest, I want it to be lifted, so I don't want to relax like this. I want to lift it up. Shoulders, I want to roll them back and down, so I have an open neck space. My elbows are slightly bent, and my hands are open to the side like this. So let's start with the hip lift technique. First, I want you to start to experiment with your knees. So let's not pay attention to the hips now. Just feel your knees bending and straightening, but never fully straightening to the back. So I never take my knee fully back. I'm taking it to 95% straight, but not fully straight. So there's always a bend in the knee. 1, 2, 1, 2. They are alternating. So one is bending while the other one is straightening in the same time. So notice the effect it has on your hips. It's kind of like it's swaying from side to side. My hips are taking the easy way out. They're swaying. So the sway is a different movement, but the hip lift requires more muscle work. So the harder way, not the easy way out. So we're gonna use the obliques. The function of your obliques, it has many functions, but in this movement, we want it to act like it's grabbing the hip bone here. Let me take my hand out of the way. Grabbing the hip bone and lifting it up towards your rib cage. So this distance is shortened. Your waist is shorter now. You will feel the squeeze, you will feel the muscle work, but you're not doing this. You're not pushing it out, because when you push it out, notice how your waist is still long. It didn't scrunch. We want it to scrunch and get shorter. So if you compare the two, this is short and here is long. So see, this is taking all my hand and this is taking just a bit. So I shortened my waist. So that's what I want to pay attention to. Straightening the knee and pushing the hip up using my muscles, squeezing, pulling it up. Pull the hip bone up, pull the hip bone up towards your rib cage. And make sure you're not shifting weight. So you're not making your body change its weight from the left to the right, to the left, to the right. So upper body is like a picture. It's still and your lower body is the video that is moving. So I want to make sure that my feet are equally planted on the floor, the weight is equally distributed on them, and it's not bouncing between the two. Now I'm going to do it on one side. So doing the hip lift on one side is usually how we showcase this movement. So even though I'm going to be using both hips just like we learned now, but I'm going to be showcasing one more than the other. This one is hidden and this one is showcased more. So how do I do that? I just take one foot a little bit back, so I'm diagonal to my audience. I'm going to bend this knee, and this front foot, I'm going to lift its heel up, and I'm going to also bend its knee. So both knees are slightly bent, one foot flat and the front one heel lifted. Just make sure you don't drop the heel up and down like this. We want it to stay up. So imagine like you're wearing a high heel shoe that keeps your heel at one level. Now what we will do is lift this hip that is closer to the audience and then drop it. When I say drop it, I mean lift the hidden hip. So it's going to be from the point of view of the audience, one hip is going up and then it's going down. It's going up and then down. But what's actually happening, the left is going up, then the right is going up. Up, 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 up. I'm just showcasing one more than the other. And notice how this knee helps me out. If I lock it, the movement will be very hard. It's like bouncy and jumpy, but if I soften it, and then I use it to help me. So when I lift this hip, this hidden knee bends. When I drop this hip, it straightens a bit more. Lift and it bends, drop and it straightens. Lift, bend, drop, straighten. Lift, bend, drop, straighten. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Make sure your upper body is not jumping with you. Also keep it like a still picture. So this was the hip lift. In the next class, we're going to learn the slide movement, which is also one of the hip movement basics, and we're going to use it in compound movements later on. If you would like to learn privately with me via Zoom, make sure to check out the link for booking in the description box below, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!